Hello, my soil fam bam. So I am indeed aware that one of the last videos I did, I gave you a long list of things to not grow next to your tomatoes. So it seemed like a bunch of don't do this with your tomatoes. So this video is all about what to do for your tomatoes to make sure that your tomatoes not just grow, not just survive, but they thrive. So here are all of my personally tried tips and tricks to make sure that you have a great tomato harvest.
Plant it, grow it, love it, share. ChiFarmerBae, spreading love everywhere. Dig deep, rise up, let the whole world know. There's always room to grow, always room to grow. There's always room to grow, always room to grow.
So let's jump into it. Before we start anything, we want to make sure that we are aware of the placement that we are going to have our tomatoes. So for an environment for tomatoes to thrive, they don't like it too cold and they don't like it too hot. So the optimal temperature range that you want for your tomatoes is to be between 70 and 85 degrees. If it's less than 50 degrees, it's too cold for the tomatoes. If it's hotter than 85 degrees, they sweating, you stressing them out, you're burning them out. It's too hot for them. Now, if you have grown tomatoes in the past, here's another trick for you. Do not place tomatoes year after year in the same exact location. What happens is you open yourself up to be more susceptible to soil pathogens and diseases. Okay, so you want to make sure that you move the placement of the tomato plant around. Now, in the event that you're like, but ChiFarmerBae, this particular spot that I have on my patio or in my backyard, this is optimal. I'm making sure that my tomatoes are getting that 6 to 8 hours of full sun that I need, and this is the only spot. Well, if that is the case, I would suggest you getting a large planter for your tomato plant, and you make sure that you change out the soil completely. You can still do soil amendments, but change out the soil completely. Okay, so now that we've talked about the environment, let's also talk about the habits that we'll have along with our tomato plants. Tomato plants need water, okay, just like all other plants. I suggest morning watering so you lessen the chance of any diseases to come about on your tomato plant. In addition to that, make sure that you have companion plants around them, which we are going to discuss, but that you also prune, possibly weekly, your tomato plant. So that means looking for those suckers and making sure that you have all of your energy flowing upwards. If you don't know how to prune, have no fear. I think I have like 2 or 3 videos on tomato pruning. So you want to prune as well as make sure that you have your tomato plant either caged or you have a very strong trellis for it. The reason why, especially if you are growing beefsteak tomatoes, those tomatoes, the vegetables, that gets heavy, okay? And so because it gets so heavy, you want to provide support. Now, even if you have cherry tomatoes, you still want to make sure that you're providing support to your tomatoes for the simple fact that if you create an environment for your tomato plant to truly thrive, even that cherry tomato plant is going to grow large. So perfect example, one year my cherry tomato plant got to be 9 feet tall and it was at least about 4 feet wide. So it needed multiple things for support. All right, so make sure that you are providing these things for your environment to make sure that your plant, baby, will not just grow, but will thrive. In addition to that, let's talk about soil amendments. All right, jumping into soil amendments. What you want to do, if you have access to Chicky Babies, or you can actually purchase it from the store, but aged manure is going to provide that slow release of nitrogen that tomatoes love. Top tier. So shout out to my Chicky Babies for always providing me exactly what I need. All right. In addition to that, something that I make sure I use all throughout my farm is bone meal. Bone meal adds phosphorus to the soil, and that ensures that you have strong roots. And of course, if you have strong roots, then you can just about guess that the rest of the plant is going to have a healthy, strong foundation. And if you have a strong foundation, you know, baby, continue to grow, thrive, reach for the stars, right? All right, this is something that I learned from my cousin down in Mississippi, and he was right. When you're right, you're right. Add Epsom salt to your soil, which is going to add that magnesium to your soil. Now, Epsom salt, I know there's 1,000,001 different types of Epsom. Get the regular schmegular one because it's going to add to that magnesium of the soil, and that is going to help the fruit and vegetable production. So if you have a plant that flowers, that fruits, that grows those vegetables on it, you want to add some Epsom salt, just a little sprinkle, a little razzle dazzle in your soil to add that magnesium in there. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about is crushed eggshells. I know that there are some things that talk about putting the entire egg on the soil, in the soil. I can't speak to that. I'm only going to tell you what I've done. Eggs are too expensive to waste. I'm eating the yolk and all of that stuff that's inside the egg. But the eggshell, I crush it up and I put it in my soil and I go ahead and mix it in. That gives the soil calcium, and that is something else that our plant babies need to grow and thrive. Last but not least, let's talk about what we should grow next to our tomatoes, our companion plants. That's what they're called. All right. First up is something that I don't grow my tomatoes without. If I have a tomato plant here, please believe I have a basil plant right next to it. Basil helps the flavor of the tomatoes. So even though I personally do not like tomatoes, everyone always tells me that my tomatoes are so delicious to them. It's so flavorful. And I do give that up to not just my soil amendments, but also that basil, okay? In addition to that basil enhancing the flavoring of the tomato, it also helps to repel aphids, which we know in garden worlds, pests will drive you insane. But I'm an organic gardener over here. So I'm going to go ahead and share everything that I utilize that is natural because I don't want to use pesticides. All right. In addition to that basil, something else that I use all throughout my garden, everywhere, not just with my tomatoes, but this video is about tomatoes, chives, garlic, and marigolds. I place them all over, all throughout my garden. Long story short, basically with the garlic, it's almost like an antibiotic. It helps prevent fungal diseases with your plants, as well as it repels pests. So we know that that tomato hornworm, it will try to worm its way into your tomatoes. Aphids will eat up everything. White flies, the same thing. All these different pests. But baby, if you put some marigolds, some chives, and some garlic, you won't have to worry about that. Place some basil next to your tomatoes, and then, baby, your tomatoes have the absolute perfect companionated environment for them to grow and to thrive. So I hope this was helpful to you. These are all the tips and tricks that I utilize to make sure that my plant babies grow up and give me nice sized harvests of delicious tomatoes. Catch you guys next time.